Subcommittee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Minority Women-Owned Business Enterprises to order. We will take up the following item for approval. Action item 1A is the approval of the minutes of the September 26, 2023 meeting.
Motion.
I move the approval. Do I have a second? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so approved. With no policy items on the agenda, I will address the information item. There is one information item on the agenda. Information item 2A is the Diversity, Inclusion, and MWBE update. Senior Vice Chancellor for the University, Human Resources and Labor Relations, Gloria, and Chief Procurement and Supplier Diversity Officer Martin Sterler will present on this item.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a few items that I wanted to update with you. The first couple items we're gonna share with you. The first one is an update on the upcoming MWBE and MWBE conference that we're gonna celebrate next week in John Jay. We're gonna cover a little bit, so we want to give you an idea of the outreach and events that we're participating over the last few months, and then Vice Chancellor Dorian Gloria will cover the initiatives from her office. As for the conference, we did the first one last year after 4 years of not doing anything in person, of course, due to the pandemic. It was quite a successful conference. We are doing it again this year. For the most part, it's similar format than last year. We did a couple of adjustments based on the feedback that we received from the participants and the exhibitors. We expect to have a fairly robust attendance, about 1,000 people. We have 60, actually we got numbers this morning, we're more like closing to 9 exhibitors, more than last year, which is, it's always good news. It drives traffic with the companies because the more agencies and companies that you have representing themselves, it drives more attendance. So of course we're going to have all of the colleges of CUNY, and then we have another about 50 different companies and agencies. We have city and state agencies, about 20, and then private companies within the IT industry, technology, construction, and many other, and real estate, of course, and other industries. This year, the other change that we're doing versus last year, we have 4 co-sponsors: Manhattan Chamber of Commerce, Bronx Chamber of Commerce, Queens Chamber of Commerce, and the National Association of Women in Construction of Greater New York. We're going to have a free professional headshots for all the attendees. It's something that we've seen in other conferences that people like to have their professional pictures taken for their LinkedIn pages or their web pages. And then I would say the highlight of the conference last year was the sessions, which we would call it a business pitch, where the vendors can register specifically for this event, where all of the directors of procurement across CUNY will be available for them to pitch their own business one-on-one. They have undivided attention, and this has generated a very, very positive feedback, and we're doing it again. And we extended the timeline for that session. We have, luckily, we're honored to have a very distinguished lineup of speakers. We have Michael Gardner, Chief Business Diversity Officer for the City of New York, Tracy Mitchell, Gateway Development Committee Special Advisor, Basil Smykel, Director of Public Policy Program at CUNY, and Jason Clark, representing ESD, Empire State Development. And we're gonna have 4 panel discussions. It's a little less than last year, but these are the ones that really generated traction within the vendor community. These ones, the ones that got the more attendance and attention. So we are doubling up and making sure that the attendees get all the information and networking that they're looking for in this conference. Changing subjects a little bit, I'm gonna have Director Ali Banks to cover the events participation and sponsorship that we did over the last few months.
So the Office of Supply Diversity has been hard at work, and we've been attending so many events all over the city and the state. We travel to Albany, we go to many different venues within the city, as you can see on this list right here. And when we meet these certified companies, we like to keep a database, and we want to keep track with who we're doing business with. And so what we do is we log their contact information, what their capabilities are, what they're certified in, and what we do from there is we track meetings. We set up meetings with these small businesses, and then from there we introduce them to the procurement directors. Procurement director, one at each campus, and we set up meetings, and whenever they would like to meet with us, we make sure that we're available to do that. And I like to I like to brag when I go to these events to say that CUNY is probably the most transparent agency in New York State. Folks will go to these events and they don't know where to start. Who can I talk to get an opportunity? But one thing that we do at CUNY, we have a list of procurement directors with contact information. You have their phone numbers, you have their emails, you have their work address. And if you need to get in contact with these procurement directors, that information is available to these contractors. You don't get that from any other agency, but we do have that here at CUNY, and that's something that I'm very proud of, and that is something that we're pushing when we go to each one of these events. Some of these events that we have here, the one up top, the MWBE Forum, the VetCon Forum. These are some of the most premier events, I would say, that we attend. These events have close to 1,000 people, if not more, attend these conferences, and we're right there representing CUNY to make sure that we are sharing the opportunities available to them. We made a vast, diverse pool of certified firms in IT, construction, commodities and goods, and so we're making sure we're representing CUNY at each and every one of these events. And we also had the pleasure of collaborating with the New York City's public schools on a small intimate event at City College late 2023, and I keep getting nothing but positive results in feedback from these companies to say that it was a pleasure to meet these procurement directors and to meet you and to get enlightened for the opportunities here at CUNY. So we're proud of that, and we're hard at work, and we are going to keep continuing to go to these events and make our name known and these opportunities known as well.
Thank you.
Do you want me to pause here or just continue?
Yes, please continue. Yes.
There you
I
go.
think I'm good. No, I'm good. No, good.
Sorry.
That's okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. I wanted to go through briefly with you today some information that we refresh every single year, and it's all available. It's all available on our public-facing website, but these are just some highlights of the work that we put out regularly. And this is a 3-year comparison. We also have a single 1-year report that you can look at, but the 3-year comparison obviously gets to show us some trends and different data. And what I want to highlight today is just a few. As I said, you could go online and see there were many different ways to slice data. The first one that we're looking at is our instructional staff. Instructional staff, as you'll see in a moment, actually has quite a few categories rolled up into it. But I'll just call your attention to a couple of things. The purple line, total minority, has gone up to 53. It's gone up a little bit each year, as you'll see, 21, 22, and 23. Most of our other numbers have stayed basically stable. So you'll look at female, 57, 57, 57, so they're not really going up, they're not really going down. Another area that we have seen some increases in is in the Asian, National Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islander. You'll see that we're at 14.6% now in this category, up from 13.5 and 13.9 in previous years. Remember that this data comes from self-identification campaigns of our employees. Unfortunately, lots of people don't participate in self-ID campaigns, but we have seen the numbers even in that going up over the last few years. So again, this is instructional staff, and this is simply full-time. Apologies for the numbers. I know they're a little bit hard to read because they're crunched. Again, they are online for viewing. But the categories that we have underneath are included faculty, higher education officers, other instructional staff, and ECPs. People sometimes are surprised to hear that the executive comp plan is actually considered within the instructional staff, but that is the case. And with the exception of other, which is really a very small category, the 3-year trend shows an increase in the percentage of minorities in faculty, what we call HEOs, and ECP titles. And it also shows an increased number of women in faculty titles as well. So calling your attention again to the purple line, in the faculty title, just faculty, minority in total have gone up to 41%, up from 38 and 39, so sort of a very slow but steady climb. ECP has similarly gone up to 50 on the minority side, so 46 to 48, and now at 50. You'll also notice some similar increases on the Asian Pacific Islander in faculty and in the higher education officers. And in executive compensation plan, we've also seen an increase in the Hispanic group. And the other groups are basically stable. So females, for example, in the executive comp have again stayed around the same, between 56 and 57%. So we're almost half and half, but we're hovering right around that high 50s. Please feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. Okay, our classified staff. We'll talk about what groups are in here. This is a very stable group, and by that, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know.
I-
I'm sorry.
No,
Yes,
please.
That's okay, thank you. Because if you're moving on from faculty, so I just wanted to know, it seems like the big lecturer push is what's driving a lot of this, and I was just wondering if you've looked into that and kind of if you can share your thoughts on what seems to be from the lecture push was on average more minority, full-time faculty, but what your thoughts are on this kind of, it's a two-tier kind of system, right? Tenure track and versus lectures. And, I know that the chancellor once answered a question at the University Faculty Senate about this, saying that, that was part of the plan is to, of course, have people in the classroom who look more like our students. Great. But there's also this kind of limitation in what lecturers can get CCE, but just this the kind of hierarchy of the academy. And so I'm just kind of wondering if you've drilled down more into those numbers and what you're
We do, and actually they will be coming up. So,
Oh, sorry. Okay, great.
No, don't be
Thank
sorry.
you, yeah.
Not at all.
Thank
I
you.
will make sure to comment on that when we get to it. Thank you. It's actually an excellent question, and it has come up many, many times. So hang on to that, and we'll be right with it. The classified staff, this is a pretty stable group, meaning the numbers have basically stayed the same. Total minority group has stayed around the 75% really for the last, this says 3, but I'm willing to bet it's actually probably even longer than that. There's actually a small decline in the total group of classified employees over the 3-year period. As you can see, the total 5,300, 5,100, 4,900. So still around the same category, but a little bit on the decline. And this just shows you the groups that make up the classified staff. We have the traditional white collar, skilled trades, blue collar, and the stage and theater group. And again, if you look at the purple line or really any of the other lines here, there is nothing really that jumps off the page. It's just a very stable group. We happen to have, it's also a group that has very low turnover, and so that explains some of the stability as well. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit, and we'll get to some of the questions there. So for the professoriate, so faculty appointed as full professors increased their numbers of minorities and women fairly significantly. Again, sorry that it's probably a little bit hard to see over there. But if you look at, just for example, full professors, we are at 45% in 2023 minority, and that's up from 44 the year before and 43 the year before that. So again, sort of a steady climb, nothing really tremendous, but heading in the right direction, and has been for some time. You'll see something similar when you look, I'm sorry, that was the female that I was looking at. The blue column is minority, and you'll see something similar there. 33% for 2023, up from 32, up from 30. So again, heading in the right direction, but slowly each year, which in some ways is preferred because it usually means it's a more organic growth as opposed to sort of a one-time incident that may have, made the numbers jump for a period of time. What other thing that I want to call your attention to? Associate professor, again in the blue column, similarly is up from 37 and 37 the 2 years before to 39. And assistant professor up to 54 from 51 and 50%. So all in all, meaning that total professoriate in the minority category is up from 37 to 39. Okay, and the non-professoriate, here we'll talk about the lecturers. We increased lecturers by 211, which of course was a planned attempt program, and it's a 46% increase between 2021 and 2023. So the question that you raised, which is a very good one, is one that has actually been discussed quite a bit lately at the bargaining table, and that is around how to create a career path for the lecturers. Whether it's a career path to tenure, whether it's a career path to more stability, whether it's a career path to any of the full professoriate ranks. And, it's interesting. There are a lot of different ways that could be accomplished, but I will say that I think everybody is on board in that should be and needs to be the plan. The lecturers were a great first start, particularly because the majority of them came from the adjunct ranks. So adjunct convert to lecturer, so we see that sort of almost like as a first step, but that's not the end, right? So we need to find a clear path for them to also get into the professoriate ranks. So this is really very new data, right? We only tracked it for last year, and so we'll continue to work with that. But you will see there were some very significant numbers here. Again, in the blue column for minority, instructors went from 54% to 62%. Distinguished lecturer went from 27% to 36%. So we're seeing some really good numbers going in the right direction. But I think the concern, sort of the unspoken concern, right, is that we don't want to create a new category that limits people without meaning to, right? That's not the intention, but we opened up this new category and then people come in and it turns out, a large majority of them are in the minority ranks, right? And so that could have an adverse impact on where we really want to go. So we're working through that very, very carefully. I hope that helps. We don't have a solution. I'm not saying we do, but we are looking at various ways to get the inroads into the professoriate, so very much aware of it.
Any other questions at this point?
Oh, not on that one, thank you.
Okay, and a little bit a break from the numbers. Like I said, if you really want to dig deep into this, not only can you find it on our website, you can also find the history going 10 years back. And I think that it really does help us in terms of seeing where trends develop. But I'll switch just now to more of events. I've been giving you updates on various events that we've put in play, many of them funded with the Chancellor's climate survey money from last year. And recently, and some of you I believe attended, we used to have an every other year event. We renamed it last year. It's called C-IDEA, the idea being inclusion, diversity, equity, and access The reason we changed it was because it used to be primarily a faculty-only event, and we've changed it now so that it is open to a wider category, which has been really well received. So well that we decided to do it 2 years in a row this time, because usually we wait. But we had quite the demand, and so if any of you were there, hopefully you enjoyed it, but some really great speakers and some great networking opportunities. And then we shook it up a little bit. In October 2023, we had someone, Dr. Javier Avila, who is a poet, a novelist, and a public speaker, is the way he describes himself. And he does sort of a one-person show on some of his experiences related to being an American Latino. And he's sort of the centerpiece of that is his name and the reactions people have with his name and a variety of different scenarios. Some of them were quite humorous, and some of them were they were all very real, let's put it that way. So he uses a little bit of theater and a little bit of humor to get people to talk about this, and it's a very interactive conversation. So we were very pleased to have him join us, and the Chancellor, in fact, did an introduction to the session, and it was a Hispanic Appreciation Month. Of course, there's a different month for everything. We can't honor all of them, but we do try. And the last one was really unusual, and this was in April 2024. Replacing hate and finding unity. I think we all know that it's very hard sometimes to have these conversations today without people getting very segmented or defensive. And we wanted to really bring something that would get to kind of the heart of it, if you will, and I use heart in two ways. Sort of our emotional feelings, but as well as the core of why there are hate groups, why there are more of them today than there had been before, what motivates people, what's inside of people who are attracted to this. And so we actually found this really great organization, and they were at, I think it was, oddly enough, a Columbia event that we attended, and we invited them to come and speak for us as well, Life After Hate. And this was a panel that was moderated by one of our own Chief Diversity Officers, Sahana Gupta, and there were 4 speakers, 2 of whom were essentially former white supremacists, people who were deeply involved in creating white supremacist groups, and who have, for a variety of different reasons, found a completely different path and now dedicate themselves and their work to trying to have that dialogue with others. So as you can imagine, it was an emotional event. We got really great feedback on it, and we had hundreds of people attend. They did attend virtually. We were a little concerned, of course, about keeping it virtual, but it actually worked out really well because we were able to open the door to so many people. So we had really great impact with that. And that was I think we'll have one more dialogue coming up. And that was what I wanted to share with you today. So yes, please.
Thanks, thank you. So the diversity dialogue, so I've heard of them before, but I think the way, this is more of a recommendation maybe, because obviously you had hundreds of people there, so you've been doing advertising that was good enough, but the new newsletter just has at the bottom, like, click for other events, so people have to click in more, and I think, like, on the website, the CUNY website of DEI stuff, they're not there, those diversity dialogues, which I know that the committee does, and so I would suggest adding them there, because that one looked great and I missed it. Speaking of which, I just wanted to know about the, university, what's called the Advisory Committee on Diversity, the Chancellor Committee on the
UACD,
yes, exactly, UACD, exactly. Forget what the acronym is exactly, but so I know that Marianne McKinsey is going to be retiring, right, at some point.
Marianne will be retiring.
Right, exactly, yes. And we will all miss her and appreciate everything that she's done. And I'm just wondering what if there's some plans for, like, I know that there are a lot of faculty on it, and I know that it's been a while that Marianne has been, I guess, interim chair and doing the best she can. But I'm just wondering a little bit about if you can share some kind of plans for the committee. I know that this year, if I'm not mistaken, this is, of course, I'm not on the committee right now, but that or may not be next year either, but that the Chancellor met once with the committee, if that's my understanding. And I'm just kind of, in this space of IDEA work, I'm curious as to what you see the potential is for moving forward and having a closer collaboration with the chancellor, with that committee, and or kind of our, as part of the UFS, we have an advisory committee on idea. So I was just kind of concerned a little bit where the interim chair is leaving, and not just that, but she has such, institutional memory, so yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, Marianne McKenzie is a member of my team. My office sponsors the UACD, and she has been here quite a number of years, and she is definitely a significant underpinning of the group, and she will be retiring. So in June, my understanding is the group's going to continue to talk about sort of the regroup. Marianne will be here until the end of June, and they've been talking a bit about what that's going to mean to the group and how they will fill that in. We will, of course, be filling Marianne's position as well, and we have someone here who was just hired that will also be shadowing her, because she also runs the Faculty Fellowship Publication Program, which is very administrative heavy, but is also really successful mentoring program, so we don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
But Marianne likes to say that the UACD has been here for 50 years, so they will certainly survive her retirement, and I think she's right about that, but she's also downplaying a bit about how much she really does contribute. But I think the group is ready for it, and I think someone will step in, and my office will just step up a little bit on how much we support the team. I think that they've actually gotten a little broader in their focus over the last couple of years, as we've pushed a little bit more to talk about not just faculty, but the whole university. And I think that the relationship with the chancellor, he does come once or twice a year to meet with them to talk about it's a very open dialogue, open question, the strategic plan. Obviously right now there would be, I'm sure, a lot of things that they could dig into. I think the UACD has always wanted, I think, an even closer relationship, and I think I think it's heading in that direction. But sort of like our numbers, it's inching. It's not a big boom.
Relaxes.
Does that help?
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
And just to add to that point, given the significance and the importance this is, perhaps a report of what is currently in going forward, what the recommendations have been, and the timeline for that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I just want to take a minute really to thank Executive Vice Chancellor Hector Batista and the incredible work of our MWBE team and SDVO team, Martin Serla, Ali Banks, and everybody, your bench behind you. I get so many questions about minority and women businesses, SDVOB, and they have now come to know that CUNY is a place where the door is open and there are procurement opportunities, and know that having the diversity programs that we'll be having and going forward and getting out there, right, to other programs around the city and state has made a remarkable difference, and that's with no small effort. So thank you again for your incredible effort and support with regarding that, and look forward to letting us know how the, no pressure, but how the conference goes. Thank you. Okay. With no more items on the agenda, I move to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.